D.C. leaders are facing tough choices as they finalize the city's budget. There's about $469 million in cuts on the table as revenue shrinks and costs rise, and today is a key moment in that process.
Today, D.C. council members will kick off the process of going line by line through the budget, deciding of which of those cuts stay and which could be changed. Those reductions come as the district faces a projected $1 billion hit to revenue, tied in part to federal job losses. And for more on what these cuts could mean for taxpayers, we are joined now by Pete Sepp, president of the National Taxpayers Union. Pete, thank you for joining us.
My pleasure.
Let's start with this. Council members, they're deciding on cuts that hit everything from health care and housing to child care and worker benefits. So from a taxpayer perspective, are those the right priorities? And do these cuts just go too far given the size, or far enough given the size of the gap?
I think it's important to put all of this into perspective. The fact is, federal aid boomed during the pandemic, and the District of Columbia was, among other state recipients, a big beneficiary of that kind of federal aid. Well, now it's pulling back. The pandemic is over, and the federal government is running into financial problems of its own. And so District of Columbia leaders are not alone here. They are wrestling with the same kinds of problems that we see in other states, that we see in this area. Where I live in Montgomery County, a tax increase is on the way. So far, district leaders have avoided a major tax hike. Spending reductions are going to have to be on the table because over the last 4 years, total district spending has increased 22%. Even excluding federal aid, it's been even higher. The District of Columbia, in its own source spending, not counting federal aid, has gone up 44% over 4 years. We're just going to have to find ways to trim.
All right, so a lot of these proposed cuts fall on safety net programs. What should lawmakers be weighing right now as they make these decisions?
They're going to have to prioritize programs that the poorest of the poor need to survive. That's the first place to start. Make sure those are funded. The next place to go, though, is to take a look at social programs that are available universally. Here we're talking about that paid leave program, which is going to run deficits because the taxes used to fund that are just insufficient. Maybe that program can be scaled back a bit so that the lowest income and moderate income workers can take advantage of it, but the rest of the workforce, which probably doesn't need it as much, can do without it. Those are the kinds of tough choices that the district will have to make, and let's not even get started on this remaining controversy over whether the district is going to decouple from the federal tax law that passed and provided relief for numerous kinds of taxpayer situations back in 2025.
Look, while all that's going on and they're looking at some of those programs, residents and critics are saying that the city is still investing in some of these big development projects. Is that smart long-term strategy, or is that a misplaced priority?
Everything needs to be on the table, and so those projects should be examined too. And we also have to bear in mind that the federal government, even despite a change in administration, is not going to come roaring back with a bunch of aid and a bunch of more new employees to provide more revenue base for the district. It's not going to happen. Times are changing. Over 22,000 net federal jobs left the district during the pandemic and during the so-called DOGE cuts of the Trump administration. Those aren't going to come back. That's the reality. The federal government is going to get poorer over the next several years as the Social Security program's finances plunge well into the red toward bankruptcy. Medicare has its problems. The Highway Trust Fund has its problems. The first thing the federal government is going to do, regardless of who Donald Trump's successor is take a look at state and local grant programs coming from Washington, D.C. It's not going to be pretty.
All right, some tough decisions will definitely have to be made. Hey, we appreciate your time. Pete Sepp, president of the National Taxpayers Union. Thank you very much.
Thank you.